Guys, welcome to my PVM top tier list. So what I'm going to be doing is just going through each of the classes, a little bit of what I think about them. Obviously these lists are very subjective, so what I think is potentially going to be very different to what someone else thinks, and that's all good. But okay, so I'm just going to get straight into it. And please remember this is for PVM, not PvP. So first one, Eka. So relatively decent damage, good movement, not really that much of a necessity for any team. So I'm at, oh, where should I put these? I'm gonna put these as a B, just because at the moment I do think they need a bit of an update, just a bit of a rebalancing. But potentially in the future, I can see them being a really good class to have in a team. Okay, so next one is going to be the Elio. Now straight away, I'm going to go tier A for this one, probably for the obvious reasons, portals. They are also able to buff, they're able to move things around, they've got good damage. I think because this is a PVM list, they're in A mainly for me because they do work in a team. The portals can be extremely helpful, and they can be a really valuable team member. So next one is an NU. So good MP reduction. Damage is fair. Able to buff, able to hinder the enemy with like range reduction, MP reduction, things like that. So I'm gonna put these. It's kind of like a B plus, but anything like that, I'm gonna drop them down one. So for me, NU's a high B, really high B. Okay, now the next one is an any. So especially considering the recent update, their damage is fair. It's like a little bit better than fair these days. Obviously, very multi-element now. So Agi, great up in close combat, in is still the classic kind of damage and healing. So I'm also going to put these as a B. Okay. Excuse me. Okay, so next one is going to be the Hupper Mage. Now, interesting class for me. So if you know how to play them, their movement is absolutely fantastic. They can push, they can pull, they can shield, they can heal. Like, their damage can be absolutely fantastic. But I wouldn't say they are quite into the category of an Elio just yet. For me, they'd be like an A minus. So I'd literally have them just crossing over. So only because I am purposely being a little harsh, they are going to be in a B. Okay, next one is a Fecker. So for me, Feckers, especially in high-end dungeons, are almost a necessity. So they are able to place close combat glyphs, range reduction glyphs, MP reduction, obviously all of their shielding, immunity, like great damage if you've got them set up for it. So for me, I would end up putting them in an A. Like, not an absolute necessity, but if you've got all of the characters, they're going to be one of the ones where their name's thrown around. Okay, so next one is going to be a Masquerader. So masks, again, really interesting class because they are so dynamic. They are able to shield, they're able to, it's only a small amount, but they can give you AP, their damage is fantastic. They're also able to move around the map, probably as quick as any other character. Oh, now this is a really difficult one for me. Oh, they, again, in a really high level dungeon, they are extremely helpful. Take Eternal Conflict, now things like that, really helpful class. So that is why for me they're going to get into the A. Okay, Forge Lance. Again, just like a Fogonaut, which I'll go into in a bit. I don't have a massive amount of experience, but from what I have seen, what I've been in groups with, obviously their shielding, their damage, their movement's relatively good. They can do a bit of everything. So again, these guys are going to go in B. Now so the next one is an Osa. For me, they're not that viable in PVM at the moment. So people might really heavily disagree with me, but I personally haven't found a way to slot them into a team where they are able to really benefit the team. There's a lot of other classes there that would do much, much better. Okay, and this next one is literally just going to be for Essex and Washington. So Panda, straight away. Thank me for it if you want. Pandas, amazing tanks. They can move, they can push, they can pull, they can heal, they can debuff, they can gravity, they can do absolutely everything to be. They are, for me, they are a massive asset to any PVM team in almost any dungeon. So for me, that pretty much guarantees on that S tier. Okay, so Foggernaut. Again, like I said earlier, I don't have a massive amount of experience with them. So their damage is fair, but, well, their damage is good, but it takes time to build that up. Their movement's not that fantastic. Their turrets can be a bit of a liability. If you lose a turret, that's it, you've got to start it all over again. So for me, I'd like to say I could put them in B, but for me personally, as PVM for all, like being able to put them in any dungeon, they're going to have to be in a C. Okay, so next one, IOP. Again, I'd like to see classes that have moved into this multi-element, or this omni-element. So these can be any element these days. It's fantastic. Obviously, Wrath is still a, like, especially combined with an Elio. Wrath, Elio's portals, absolutely amazing. I wouldn't be able to put them into an A, because there are classes out there that have a lot more survivability to them. So for me, they're a good solid B. I wouldn't say they're a plus or a minus, they are just a good solid B. Okay, and the next one, Rogue. Now, for certain fights, absolutely incredible. For other fights, you just can't use them. Right? If any of the mobs are in heavy state, you can't easily get them in. The bombs, they die really easy. The damage isn't quite what they used to be, unless you're doing Nidus, but you've got time there to buff them up. Again, you have to buff those bombs, so it takes a lot of time. So for me, they are going to be in a C, just because of their overall compatibility, their overall use in a team. Okay, next one. Quite an interesting one, actually, Uganak. So if you are using a full close combat team, say if you're doing the standard dreams where you got your Panda, Ugi, Mask, and Feka, they are absolutely fantastic. But a little bit like the IOP, they struggle with that survivability in a high-end dungeon. Yes and no. I'll agree and disagree with myself there. But I can't put them into an A or an S, just because they are usually very, very close combat orientated. So they are going to be in a B. Straight away, Sack. Even though they've added that little bit of an upgrade, I would rather pick, for me personally, I would rather pick any of these classes first over a Sack. Again, their survivability is still just not quite there. Obviously, they've made some improvements, but it still needs a bit of a boost. So for me, they're going to be a C. Okay, so the next one, obviously, I am going to be very, very biased, which is a Sadie. And I think it's probably because I know how to play a Sadie, I know what to do with it. So, thinking of a Sadie, if you can get them set up, the damage is absolutely ridiculous. MP reduction's great, they can buff MP. Manifold now reduces MP as well. Manifold can also move things closer to a tree. They can provide obstacles. Oh, so they are really difficult. That I wouldn't quite See, I'd love to put them in A, but they're just not quite going to catch it, I don't think. So even though it is my main, and I will adamantly say that they are suitable for any dungeon, and they are. I think just because they're not that, like there's certain dungeons where they're not really going to be that useful. But for something like King and Queen, ink and paper, Sadi is by far the best class you can take to those dungeons. Okay, now a Shram. Shram, again, for me is a little bit of a difficult one because I always used an agility Shram for a long time. And I feel that that build has now been ruined for me personally. But a bit of a boost for them because Myth is still useful. Plot helps buff, repelling trap, paralyzing trap. They are all things that can assist a team. They're not going to be in an S, they're not going to be in an A. It's kind of, again, it's kind of one of these ones that are in B. Obviously, I don't get a lot in B because these are classes that in certain places they are absolutely fantastic. In others, you just can't quite use them. Where in Elio's usable in 99% of dungeons. Same as a Feka, same as a Mask. Okay, now Zella. This is a really tricky one because a Zella's damage, if you have enough time in your turn to do it, and you know what you're doing with it, and it's one of those classes you really have to study. They are fantastic, but their usability for me is just not. It's a little too complicated. But again, like I said, these lists are very personalized. So for me, it's going to go into a C. Now, last one. Massive damage. Able to move, able to range. They can really be there to kind of give the team that edge. So for me, PVM, Akra is going to be an A. So this is my top tier list. I've played most of these characters, and obviously I'm not expecting everyone to completely agree with me, but this is my personal thoughts. Anyway, I'll see you guys all in the next video. Bye.